Well, good morning. Glad you all are here. We are doing something a little different today. We're wrapping up a sermon series on little things that we do that have a big impact over time in our relationships. And we've been looking for just little 2-degree changes that could, over time, change the trajectory of our lives. And specifically in relationships, specifically kind of assuming that we don't always know how to do it, and we maybe should talk about things. So today, as we wrap it up, we're going to talk about long-term, kind of emphasis on the long-term part of that over time. And we're going to have a panel here in a few minutes of long-term folks who have been in relationship in some way or another over time, whether that be married or in family or friend. And we're doing this across the church today, and different people in each campus, each service. So if you went to each service, you would probably learn just a little tidbit, hear something different, and that's kind of the point. It's not maybe revolutionary, and the folks who are coming to talk here in a minute are not experts, except that they're doing it just like you are. And I told them, rest assured, we're not asking for like the one aha that solves all of our relationship questions, but just maybe something that you would take away today. But before we get to that, I want to celebrate that we had our annual golf scramble yesterday, and we had 46 guys and gals who were a part of that event. It was a big event, really successful. And one of the winning team is here at 9:30. And so, Luke, I think you know this is coming. Would you, if you don't mind coming up, want to present the trophy because it's a honking. Look at that thing. Here we go. Pretty great. Congratulations. Thanks. If you can carry it, yeah, you can take it. And it stays here at the Melrose campus, not to like play the campuses against each other, but it stays here at the Melrose campus until somebody is able to take it from us, which we hope is never. So the Bragging Rights Trophy, it was a really beautiful day and a really fun event. Well, I want to tell you a little bit of context for today. We had a funeral here among the church. It was actually at Western on Friday. Lois Wilkins. Lois had been a member here for as long as any of us can remember. And she and Curtis is still alive, were married when she passed. They had been married just shy of 72 years. They came here in 1965 when he got a job teaching at Western Kentucky University, and they moved over here to 1340 Melrose Street, which is just right across the road right here, and they lived there until she passed away, or until they went into assisted living at the very end of her life. And for 60 years, came to church. For 60 years, went to Western football, basketball, volleyball, theater, musical, and we're a fixture around here. 10 houses back from them on Karen Street, is somebody, Ann and Tom Cole, who were doing the same thing. We're married 70 years. And actually I have a picture of Tom and Ann. We presented, when Ann retired from the quilting group here at church, we presented her with a quilt, and this was maybe a couple years before they passed away. This is one of my most cherished pictures, because if you don't have a Tom and Ann Cole in your life, you need them. You know, if those of you who knew them know what I'm kind of talking about. They just brought something with them wherever they were. There was an extension of their love for each other, and they were just terribly sweet. Let me just and humor was a part of that. I love, one of my other favorite pictures is of Tom wearing a crown as part of one of our senior adult things. They're just always having a good time. And when they got to the end of their life, they sort of needed people checking on them, and one of them was a member of the church, Marveline Arrington, who ended up passing away actually before they did. She was younger than them, but she just adopted them. And so when that kind of materialized, when that happened, Anna started calling Marveline Tom's girlfriend, and Tom called Marveline Valvoline. That was his nickname for her. And that kind of tells you the vibe, that they had. Just precious people, and just an absolute gift to us and to our church. Some time ago, one of our members and I were talking, and we said he said, we just really need to be talking about long-term relationships because they're important. And marriage is part of that, but is maybe an extension of something bigger that's going on. as we think about what it means to be committed to each other and to live out that commitment. A couple things. In some ways, long-term relationship isn't the best setup for the panel that we're about to watch or to be a part of. Because there are people who are committed to each other for long term, and they make each other's lives miserable. It's not necessarily a positive thing. Long term doesn't necessarily mean quality. And conversely, there are short-term relationships that we have that are extremely life-giving. And one of the thoughts I had about that was when someone needs care at the end of their life and caregivers come into someone's home. And I've seen it over and over and over again where those caregivers become like family in just a short amount of time. They have to enter into some really vulnerable spaces with folks, and you get really close. Long-term doesn't necessarily mean better. But as the Proverbs set us up for this topic, we hear sort of both things, the long-term effect of quality relationships. The Proverbs 3 says, let love and faithfulness never leave you. This is instruction most likely to young men from older men who are training them up in the faith, training them up in how to live well. The Message version says it this way: don't lose your grip on love and loyalty. Tie them around your neck, carve their initials on your heart, earn a reputation for living well in God's eyes and in the eyes of people. And that's what we're looking for, the ability to live well, to have long lives and long relationships, but also healthy and quality relationships. And so, again, we've kind of invited people from all kind of different walks of life and people from each specific service. So I'm going to invite our panel to come forward now, and you know who you are. Come on up. And one of the pieces of advice I said as we set this up was that you need to sit by each other. So that was, like step one. And we ended up, as we did the ask, we have 3 married couples in our panel for 9:30, and a mother and a daughter. So would you join me in welcoming these folks to be part of our panel today? All right, you guys got enough chairs? We good? And as you know, everybody loves to get up in front of folks and talk. It's like your favorite thing, I know. So I appreciate your willingness to do this. And what we'll do is we'll take a mic on each side, and we'll pass it around. And we'll just see what happens. We did this at 8:15, and we had a blast, so no pressure. Hopefully we'll have fun here too. But I, again, appreciate your willingness to share. So I'm going to start here on the end down here with Katie and Kathy. If you would just tell us, because obviously your relationship started when, Katie, when you were born, right? So, so kind of tell us, the first question that we'll all ask is tell us how long you have known each other and what your relationship is like. You don't have to use years if you don't want to.
So I'm Katie Corbin, and this is Kathy McCurdy, mother-daughter. But I think also our circumstances are a little different than most mother-daughters, probably. So not to give a whole huge backstory, but growing up, Kathy has had cancer 6 times. We've gone through housing insecurity, financial insecurity, all kinds of insecurities. And we've tallied it together, too. So she lives with Matt and I. So moved in several years ago, but we figured out that we have lived together for 30 years in some form or fashion. So definitely an interesting dynamic there, but I just have a lot of gratitude because growing up, all the health scares, most of them happened when I was in elementary school, middle school, high school. And so I never really knew if I would grow up having a mom. And so I just live my life with a lot of gratitude, and I don't take that for granted that she's still here. And it is an absolute miracle that we get to celebrate her 75th birthday tomorrow. So I got permission to say that. But I mean, absolutely, we live every day in that gratitude that we have made it through so much and that she is still here, and that we have the relationship that we do, that we've gone through so many things together and have come out on the other side of that.
I think that our lives just prove God's faithfulness. He has been faithful through everything, and we could not have done this without him and without our faith family.
Thank you all. All right, I'm going to this side, so whichever ones want to go. Scott and Barb, yeah, Scott is working, so good.
first.
Yeah,
Hello,
introduce us
Working.
to the Scott and Barb duo here. And how, yeah, so tell us about yourselves.
Okay, Scott Higdon, Barb Higdon, let's see, July '83. We met at Western, and I had a speech class there, and the instructor said before I went up, imagine that everyone are in their underwear right now. And I'm telling you right now, I'm a little terrified. But our relationship is wonderful, right? 42 years. 42 years. Our relationship is awesome. We have great kids, grandkids, our church family. We just enjoy being around each other, and all of you folks every Sunday. We're church people. And that's all I have to say about that.
That's good. Okay. And, you know, just as we were talking before church, we were just like sharing life. We're getting ready to be empty nesters. You guys were coaching us on being empty nesters, and that's, that's kind of what we do. So, all right, Mark and LaDonna, you look like you're going to say something already. Like, Mark's worried that he's going to get in trouble up in front of all of you all. So, introduce us to you guys.
Okay, this is Mark and LaDonna Hunton, and of course, we met 37 years ago, and of course, she asked me out. I hadn't had a date since high school, and I was 30-something years old, 33 years old. And like I say, I'm thinking, how's this young, beautiful woman asking me out? So when she asked me, I said, I'll get back to you. And I'm going down the hall and said, man, I should have said yes. So anyway, and of course, we started dating then. And of course, here I'm thinking, how's a 10-year younger lady than I am, asking an old man like me out. But anyway, we started dating. Seemed like we was like one glove, two people in one glove. I mean, everything was always nice and stuff. And we get along just great. As far as, I don't know what else to say. That's good. Thank you.
He's done good so far. Yeah, he's called you young and beautiful, and yeah, you've taught him well. All right, so when I asked Randy and Dorothy to do this, Randy said, sure, but I hardly know her. So that's back to the humor piece. So did I take your joke? Sorry. Introduce us to you guys.
Randy and Dorothy Hargis. We met 47 years ago and been married 44. Do you want to know how many of those are happily married?
Yeah, let's go ahead and...
No. Met in college through a mutual friend. And just, sometimes you just know.
Yeah.
And she told me what I needed to know.
So I'm going to add to this.
Yeah, please.
So I guess we got together and we got married on a prayer. So I want to tell you that on our wedding day, that he had a plea. So when we knelt for the Lord's Prayer, he had helped me on the bottom of his shoes. So that's where we begin our relationship. And we have matured a lot. I just want to tell you, we've matured a lot since then.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, good. Yeah, you all keep it over there. But in fact, you want to just kind of hold on to, we'll ask you, the second question for everybody is what has kept you close over the years? And, how has your faith been a part of that? So Dorothy, you guys want to respond to that question? What's kept you close over the years?
So a pivotal moment for us was when we were in Madisonville that we were a part of the Walk to Emmaus Great Banquet movement. So it was a 3-day ecumenical kind of a retreat, and it gave us a new perspective. Things that we knew growing up, we already knew. We were Christians, went to church, but the things one of the big take-home messages was the priority of God first, others second, and each other, ourself third.
Yeah, good. Randy, you got anything to add to that? Okay. All right, so you all,
I will,
yeah,
okay, I
yeah,
will
you
say,
do.
it says, how's your
faith, yeah.
done this? A lot of grace.
Yeah.
It's taken a tremendous amount of grace on both sides because we don't always get it right.
Yeah, yeah, thanks for that. Okay, over here, yeah. What has kept you close?
Well, I guess I would say, excuse me, our faith too. Mark and I are convinced that the Lord brought us together. Absolutely, no doubt whatsoever. And we agreed that there were going to be 3 people in this marriage forever. And as long as we keep him at the center of our marriage, things work out well. But I'd echo what he said, a lot of grace and mercy, because long-term commitments aren't easy. And they're rewarding. But we visited Broadway, 2-3 weeks after we got married, and because we decided this would be our church family. And we just always tried to live genuinely from our faith. We don't always get it right, but that's how we've
Yeah,
always
your
tried to
faith
do
is
it.
a big part of your life,
Oh,
and then your
absolutely.
marriage is part of that,
Yes, mhm, yeah.
that relationship with God and then with each other.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, down here on the end, what has kept you all close? You're related, mother and daughter, but I see you all as really close. So, yeah, talk to that.
So some of it has just been out of necessity. We've just needed each other in so much of what we've gone through. And I think, too, what brought us closer was being involved in church, especially in my high school years. Our church was our safe place. It's where we went to kind of escape sometimes, but it's also where we felt supported and loved. And there were things at home going on that we, weren't great. And so that was where we went, and it was where we had purpose and could serve others and be served. And our faith rescued us in all of those things. And we had it in common. And so it brought us closer together. I feel like we talked more about that, but what would you add?
Trying to think. I think just over the years, just praying for each other has been so important. And seeing God answer those prayers has been so sweet. And, our proximity, we see each other every day, so sometimes it's not always easy. We have our own opinions and everything, but I think grace is definitely has to be a part of your relationship. But our faith and the Bible study I was in during that time, it was a lifeline, and just being in the Word every day just has been wonderful for us.
Thank you. All right, down here, Barb, you want to talk to that?
It's my turn. When we got married, I had grown up in a divorced home with my mom and sisters and really did not have an idea of what marriage looked like from a firsthand point of view. So I have always tried to seek mentors and other healthy, happy relationship of other married people. And from the very beginning, drugs got to every marriage class and counseling thing that every opportunity we could make to learn and grow. And that has helped us. And as far as how faith has played a role, like everyone here, life is hard, and we have had a lot of hard times. Also, it's hard to raise children. It's hard to be married. It's hard to have careers that don't go the way you think they're going to go, and we've had to really rely on God and put him first, and then know that we're a team and we're going to stick together. And those challenges and hard times are the times that have always create the most growth, and that's where we learn and we grow and learn how to love each other better.
Thank you, Barb, for that sharing and for that vulnerability. I heard after a sermon recently, somebody came up and said, here's what summarize the sermons in a sentence, and I wish I had said it that way, but they said, resilience feels like a positive thing after the fact. In the midst of it, it feels like a challenge, with the things that make us resilient, and that. So I appreciate your sharing about that. All right, so you want to kind of go back to the, with that as an extension, what's helped you deal with conflict? I know this is the
I'll
third.
take this one.
You'll take that one, okay. We're praying for you, buddy.
We deal with conflict very differently, according to our marriage counseling classes we had, which is true. And so what I've realized or discovered is that you talk through things a lot, and then I try to fix them. And then she really just wants me not to fix anything, but just to listen and to talk through things and not try to solve her problems or our problems immediately. So I
Yeah.
would say the marriage classes have helped us a lot over the years.
I'm guessing you're not the only one who's had that dynamic. Like,
No.
no, don't need you to fix me. Yeah. Okay, well, over here, somebody want to talk to the conflict thing?
We both hate conflict and try to avoid conflict as much as we possibly can. But we don't always resolve the conflict immediately. We kind of go off and think about it for a while, but we eventually always come back together and make sure that we're okay and our relationship is okay.
Yeah, I think there's been a dynamic of being together and under the same roof for 30 years where you kind of also learn each other's ticks and what sets them off, and you just avoid that. But also, like she said, we usually discuss it when we're back at a neutral spot. It does not help us when one of us is still hot about it. We usually go back and try to do it when we're both in a neutral spot. There's something else. But I think, too, you've mentioned that you have learned to listen to the Holy Spirit of when to keep your mouth shut. I've probably learned when to speak up in those things. And so having those, learning that skill has been helpful to rely on God for that nudge, but to also just follow through on doing it when we're neutral, learning those skills. It's taken time to build up.
Right, coming back to the
when
conversation.
to do that, yeah.
Thank you all. Over here, you guys.
So I think we've learned to understand we each have our flaws and our issues, and we had to learn to be understanding of those. Know what you've been together 40-something years. You kind of know what's coming before it happens. But anyway, so guys, if you're taking notes, this is worthy of a star. You can either be right or be happy. Sometimes you just choose to be happy.
I heard that at 8:15, maybe not quite so eloquently put, but the desire to change somebody or to make them into like the perfect, make the relationship into the perfect relationship. None of us gets that. We just get who we are, and then we work it out from those particular personalities and issues, and that's what everybody's doing. You guys have anything to add to the
Repeat the question.
the conflict question?
conflict.
So, like, how have you dealt with conflict?
Well, she has a shotgun. So, no, basically, as far as years ago, of course, when we first got married, like I say, we went on the Emmaus Walk, and of course, we met some real sweet couples, Dave Brockman and his wife Lois, and also Georgia and
Mike
Brenners.
Brenner, yeah.
And of course, they was very good people to take and look after as far as, I don't know, good mentors. There you
Like
go.
a mentor
Mentors for us.
couples, yeah.
And of course, with that said, they told us, or told me a lot of times, we'd meet, as far as the guys would meet, and I'd say, well, we're not getting along. And they'd say, well, have you sat and listened to her? So Well, no, I'm too busy talking instead of listening. So basically, I guess what I could say is for conflicts, I learned to just basically listen or try to listen and and also give 100%, not 50%. I know it's a 50-50 marriage, but I have to give 100%. She gives 100%.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we can get from there.
That's really good. Thank you.
And just one other quick thing. There's nothing wrong with praying for your partner in the middle of an argument or a passionate discussion. I always pray that God will build a hedge of protection around Mark during our disagreement so that I won't do anything I'll regret later. So that's all I wanted to add.
Yeah, it's beautiful. I love that. There are at least 2 takeaways from each of you on that I'm taking. So having mentors, gosh, that's really important. Having people that you can talk it out with and listening, and then praying for one another. That came up over there too. Okay, well, let's wrap up. So one of you from each of the couples for the duos, what's a lesson on long-term commitment that you would pass on to the rest of us? You all can go.
Just stick with it, pray, involve God. And I guess because the generations are so different, I would encourage that you not look to social media or movies as an indication of what a long-term commitment looks like. That's probably the opposite of what it should look like. So that's
Good
just...
stuff. Thank you for that. Okay. Hargis.
So the long-term that we would pass on.
Yeah,
right?
yep. Piece of advice you pass on.
Just don't give up. We live in a day and time where like in sports, the transfer portal is just easy when things get a little wonky or a little rough, I'll just transfer. And somebody mentioned earlier about, when you go through the hard times, when you come out the other side, that's where you've learned the most from that and grown the most, and that's true. We've had a few things come our way throughout our marriage, but they've things that you think are going to take you down. You stay committed, surround yourself with the community of faith that's there for you, lifting you up. Hold on to your family, and you can get through that.
Yeah, Randy, if you don't mind me saying, many people may not know your daughter Kelly was in a tragic accident and should have died. And then the recovery of that over now 10 years has been a defining part of your family and your faith, right? The things that when you say things that you think would take you down, don't. You all have lived that.
So many of you in this room, some watching Greenwood campus, walked that road with us, supported us through that. Couldn't have made it without you.
Yeah.
And, Adam spoke on it one Sunday, and he talks about he doesn't throw the term miracle around lightly, but he used the term miracle for Kelly,
Yeah.
and she truly is. And people say, and people would tell us we were in the middle of it, God won't put more on you than what you can handle. So if any of you know Sheriff Gaines, worked for at the time, he was there. He heard somebody say that to us, and he was standing there, and he looked. He said, "God's got a high-ass opinion of you, don't he, boy?" So the thing is, it's not that God won't put more on you or allow more to be put on you than what you can handle. He won't allow whatever it is to take you down if you trust in him and you stay committed to him. So that works in your marriage too.
Yeah.
Whatever the bumps are, God won't let it take you down if you stay committed and focused with your eyes on him.
Thank you for that. Yeah. Okay. over here, got a piece of advice for us?
So we kind of joke that our situation only works. We're a multi-generational household, and especially to Matt's point, it might have been more interesting to have an in-law conversation here, living with your mother-in-law, because I don't know that everyone can do that, but we kind of joke that it's because she's her. It's the only way it works, is that Kathy is Kathy, and that's how it works. But I think that's an extension of her faith and pursuing the fruits of the Spirit of love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. You can do all of those things. You can live together in that long term if you're pursuing those and you're pursuing Jesus. And in our situation, growing up too, like we had so much insecurity, and Jesus had to be our security. And so I think that's just something we've learned of that Jesus gets us to that next point, that he is with us in every situation, and he is with us then and now, and we're pursuing him and he's pursuing us. And I think that's what I take away from it is, we have to pursue God in those moments to make any of this work. It's the only way.
Beautiful. All right. Barb, you're going to close this out.
Just be quick, a couple words to be intentional, not to take each other for granted, and to stay connected. It's very easy to lose sight of each other. There's some really challenging times in life where your newborn stage, all this last week's sermon was so good about how busy you think you are when you are first married, and then when you have babies, and then when they're elementary. And that's how life is, and it continues. We've learned to always stay. There's so much distraction. But I think it's very important to be intentional about a relationship and stay connected that way. And when the hard times come, I always go back to Dory and just keep swimming. And then the times that I just want to throw up my hands and give up, I go to the children's book or song, I'm Going on a Bear Hunt. That you can't go around it, you can't go over it, you can't go under it, but you've got to go through it. And going through it is what has helped us to stay strong and in love with each other for 42 years.
It's wonderful. Thank you all. Can you thank them for sharing? Again, I appreciate that so much, and I feel like the goal is just for us all to have one small thing to take in and to incorporate. And as we come to communion, I'm going to invite those who are serving forward. We're going to tie this all up into that context of our faith, in that God is doing this thing. In 1 Corinthians, Paul writes, is not this a participation in, as we have the cup and as we have the bread, a participation in the body of Christ. And so maybe that's my contribution, is to remind us that our relationships with each other are somehow joining in God's relationship to the world, and this thing we're doing together is the way we live that out, so that our regular relationships become the very body of Christ in the world. And so in that hope, communion is one of those things, a small thing that we do that over time makes a big difference, a little thing that we keep coming to again and again that shapes the trajectory of our lives. And so we remember on the night Jesus was betrayed, he took bread and blessed it and broke it, gave it to his disciples and said, "This is my body, which is given for you. Do this in remembrance of me." And when the supper was over, he took the cup, again gave thanks, gave it to his disciples and said, "Drink from this, all of you. This is a cup of a new covenant poured out for you and for many for the forgiveness of sins. Do this as often as you drink it in remembrance of me." And so I'll invite our servers forward and give you a few instructions for communion as they come. We'll have 3 stations here, and you'll come out 2 sections here, these 2 and these 2. So you will come out the right side and come back to the left. If you have an offering, you can place it. And then take communion with your hands open to receive the bread, and then dip it into the cup. And if you somehow get confused about that, just you can start over, and no big deal. And we're going to anoint with oil today, which is a symbol of God's presence, just another way to remind you that God brings healing and wholeness. And if you come, we're going to anoint you with the words, "Let love and faithfulness never leave you," the words of Proverbs 3. We have gluten-free elements here at the center if you need those. And if you need us to come to you, we're happy to bring those elements to you. So with that instruction, let's pray together. God, we give you thanks for this holy mystery in which you have given yourself for us, and so we offer ourselves in the same way, in the faith that perhaps as we meet you here in the bread and the cup, that our lives are drawn up into something grander than we could have imagined, the redemption of the world through Jesus Christ. And we trust in that as he meets us in the table that he has set, and we pray it in his name. Amen. Would you come?